All right, so we are now live on YouTube first, and then I'm now sharing this live video on our Facebook page so people can also reach us through their Facebook account.
Yeah, so we'll be starting shortly. We'll be starting at approximately 4 o'clock. Rolando is still giving you an issue? You're muted.
Yeah, it's still giving me an issue.
Okay. Um, did you check to see if, did you try clicking the video, th- um, the little video thumb, like it's on the bottom left. It's like a little video uh, thumbnail. If you click that, it should be able to.
All right, guys, so we are already live,
Okay,
so people
perfect.
can see us.
All right, so I'll make sure I share it. Okay, so if everybody could just take this moment to share it on Facebook. Uh, our Facebook account is NYC CB12M, and the page is Office NYC CB12M. That's our official community board 12 page.
Okay, Domingo. Also, since I just started recording on the cloud in Zoom, our Zoom account, please go and repeat the same information you just said.
All right. So if you could check our Facebook, it's NYC CB12M. That's NYC CB12M. Once you search it, you will see Office NYC CB12M, and that's our official Facebook page. We'll be going live there. So if you could take this time to share it on Facebook, it'd be appreciated. Okay, thank you. So how's it going, Rolando? How's your week going so far, man?
Not bad, not bad. How are you doing? As good as can be on this situation.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get some clippers, and that's as scarce as a mask. You got better luck finding some Lysol than you do some clippers to do my self haircut.
Yeah, I myself am wondering what happens if this lasts much longer.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah. So we'll be starting at approximately 4 p.m. Rolando is a representative of the Legal Aid Society Community Development Project, if I'm not mistaken, Rolando. He's the staff attorney there, and he'll be providing, for this first 30 minutes, he will be providing information around commercial. He'll be answering general questions as well around commercial leases, insurance, and contracts. We also have our CB12 chair, Eliezer Bueno, who is in the call as well, and we have Jonathan Frometa, who's a member of the Business Development Committee. So we could give it 2 more minutes, and then we'll start. Okay, Rolando.
yep, that's fine.
And Eliezer, if you want to do the intro, we're gonna start at 4:02. Okay.
Oh, you just all right. You want me to do the introduction now and
Yeah.
then okay, so
No,
sure, no problem.
we could do it at 4:02, so we could give more people time to
Of
share
course.
this on we're currently live on Facebook and YouTube.
Hmm.
So if you could go to your Facebook account and share it, you could search NYC CB12M. Once you search that, you'll see that office NYC CB12M. That's our official Facebook page for CB12, and you will be seeing all the conversations and all the lives through this account. So just make sure you like us and share the videos that you feel would be a resource to our community.
In the same way, people can find also on our YouTube channel, just by trying to search CB12M NYC on YouTube, and so they can also join the live meeting through YouTube.
Okay, listen, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so thank you, Domingo. Thank you, Rolando, for being here and giving us the right some hope at the light at the end of the tunnel as to what the situation is going to mean within the next couple of months. This is just the beginning of what we foresee to be a, a catastrophe, an economic catastrophe in which the business owners like myself will face the reality of possible and potential evictions, potential displacements, and everything that our community is worked and strove so hard for and worked so hard for the past 20 to 30 years is now at stake. Um, I believe that legal advice is in order, uh, and legal advice coming from someone like Rolando Gonzalez, who will guide us in the path that we probably gonna need, not probably, that we will for sure need in the upcoming future. So having said that, I really, again, as a business owner myself, I'm extremely happy, Domingo, for you having coordinated this effort. So thank you again.
Okay, so with that being said, the goal of what we're trying to accomplish is basically in the name. And what I mean by that is that we have to be able to have a certain clarity, just to be able to make informed decisions. And the purpose of this is to explore all options and be able to get all and be able to get accurate information to make informed decisions. The series is called What You Need to Know. CB12, the chair has created a space where now we're able to provide weekly updates to our community as far as just resources every week where we'll make sure that we provide accurate, up-to-date information, but as well provide resources where we could take it, we could make informed decisions and also take be able to identify resources to alleviate the burden of this pandemic. So with that being said, I'll break down the structure for how we will be how we'll be moving forward, and it's basically it's a 30-minute conversation where we will have an hour-long conversation, 30 minutes in 30 minutes in English, followed by 30 minutes in Spanish. Um, Rolando Gonzalez, again from the Legal Aid Society's Community Development Project, will be providing advice and general information around commercial leases, insurances, and contracts. Anything that might require more in-depth information or that Rolando has to review it more thoroughly, he will take the conversation offline so that we're not necessarily uh, putting people's information out there. So with that being said, I just saw Borough President Gail Brewer just got on. So if you want to say some words, Gail, before we start the presentation.
Unmute. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you. Board 12 is really stepping up to the main challenge. We all are dealing with food and seniors and NYCHA and health, but I have to say the small business is particularly hard. And in Inwood and Washington Heights, it's really hard. I think we learned that just in terms of where people started, lack of internet, and all the other challenges that you know better than I do. So I'm here to listen, but it's very frustrating because even when the Chamber of Commerce of the United States put out opportunities, the site crashed, and because of so many people trying to get in there. We have been working until the federal ran out with Columbia University, with the business school and the law school, and we could focus more on Washington Heights, particularly because that couldn't be better, I think, in terms of advice, although you have good lawyers whom you're working with. And obviously you're going to work with all possible with the congressman and Presbyterians funding, but I'm here to listen. I don't have any, I have like 30 small businesses who have called me in the last couple of days from the borough of Manhattan. And I'm trying, but they're in tears, no question about it. And the bars in particular, I have a lot of friends who run just a bar, and they're not essential. They're worried. They don't know if they'll ever be essential. All those kinds of issues that only too well. So we're here to listen and to see if we can work on something together. But congratulations to you and to the board for making this a priority. And then who can take over Coogan's? That's my other question. Who is going to take over Coogan's? I refuse. I've known that family a long time because Peter's sister is my boss at Hunter College. So that's the other question. Is the sheriff going to take over Coogan? That's what I see that. But anyway, let's also think about that. I know it's a crazy idea, but we have to think of all possible during the next small time period. But thank you very much for including me.
Thank you for participating.
Thank you so much.
And for your kind words. Rolando, if you want to begin your presentation and just present who you are, your role, and et cetera, and you can begin your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you to Community Board 12. Thank you, Domingo. Thank you, Elisel. Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you, Borough President Gail Brewer. Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to talk to small business owners. I am an attorney with the Community Development Project. We provide free legal services to small businesses within the 5 boroughs. So I hope to give sort of a little brief overview of the current situation with commercial leasing, what your rights are, what your obligations are, and then answer questions. If there's anything specific, I can give you my contact information. You can reach out to me and we can have sort of a separate conversation regarding how this applies to you specifically. Just in general, what I want to go over is I've gotten a lot of questions over, do I need to pay rent? What are my legal obligations during this crisis? What are my lease options? The most important thing is to review your lease. You want to know what's in your lease. You want to know what your obligations are, what your rights are, what your remedies are, what can you do? Everyone's lease is different. So what might apply to someone else might not apply to you. If you need help with finding out or making what your rights are, I'd be happy to review your lease and kind of go over what your legal options are. More likely than not, you're going to need to reach out to your landlord to try to negotiate. It's important to really know what's in your lease so that you're not negotiating in a vacuum, because there might be things that you want to negotiate that don't necessarily pertain to the rent, but there are things that you might want to negotiate that, for example, your lease might be expiring, and in order for you to pay back the landlord, you need an extension to have more time to be in your space. So basically, a lease is a contract, just like any other contract. But for commercial tenants, they're in a different position than residential tenants. Residential tenants have rights that are not in their lease, and they have protections. Commercial tenants, pretty much their rights are tied to what's in the lease. So it's important to know, once again, what's in your lease as far as what your rights are. Now, you may have heard that there's a moratorium on evictions. What that basically means is that landlords cannot evict commercial tenants until, I believe it's around June 19th, but there's no suspension of rent. There also is there are no more court filings as of March 15th until further notice. So what this basically means is landlords can't start a new proceeding in housing court. It also means landlords can't evict tenants until after the middle of June, unless the law is changed. However, this does not remove the obligation to pay rent, nor does it remove the obligation to comply with anything else that's in the commercial, in each tenant's commercial lease. So what this pretty much means is that once this moratorium is lifted, a landlord can seek to obtain their rent. So this is why you kind of want to look at what's in your lease. Most commercial leases have a clause that says that they're responsible for paying rent regardless of whether the landlord doesn't comply or if there's anything else going on. That right to pay rent is exists, and there's no offsetting of rent, meaning you can't withhold your rent, you can't deduct your rent unless you've negotiated into the lease. So for most tenants, what I would advise them is to negotiate with their landlord. I tell usually tenants, if they have any problems with their landlord, reach out to the landlord, try to work something out. You want to work things out before it gets to court. You want to work things out before lawyers get involved. Usually lawyers getting involved makes things worse. So if possible, reach out to your landlord. You want to discuss with your landlord. If you can't pay your rent, you may ask for a waiver, a rent reduction, a payment plan, but you shouldn't just be limited to basically any issues that pertain to rent. This might be a good time to look at your lease and see what other things you might need in order to be able to survive this crisis and to be able to prosper. So for example, if you had a lease and your lease is about to expire and you didn't have a lease renewal, this might be the time to ask for an extension of your lease or a lease renewal. If you figure that when you come back, you're not going to be able to pay the rent, so you might want to have another commercial tenant come in and share the space. You may want to seek to get the ability to be able to sublet the space, where maybe a landlord might not be willing to do it before. You may be able to renegotiate that. You may also be looking at the permitted use clause. So every lease has a specific clause that limits what you can use your space for. You might realize that maybe what you were doing, you might have to change your business a little bit. You can't legally do that unless your use clause allows you to do it. So you might be able to, for example, if you have a coffee shop which doesn't permit selling hot food, you might be able to negotiate with the landlord that now you're going to sell hot food. And just as well, any other things that you may want to maybe expand what you're selling in the business or the type of business, you would basically need to negotiate that. And this might be a good time to do it. So don't hesitate to talk to your landlord about concessions, about renegotiating anything that's in the lease. Pretty much anything can be renegotiated. If it turns out that basically you want to terminate your lease, if you want to stay in the lease, I would strongly suggest negotiating with the landlord. But if you want to terminate your lease, and some people have said, I know that I'm not going to be able to continue my business after this, you may want to once again, look at the lease, know what's in the lease. Most leases do not contain a termination clause. So what that means is that you're going to have to look to see if it has a termination clause. If it doesn't, you then have to look at what are the penalties in your lease for terminating your lease early. Every lease is going to have some type of penalty. Some of them may be that they have a rent acceleration clause, which means that if you terminate the lease and you terminate it at year 5, the remaining 5 years become due immediately. Some leases may have that when you moved in, you got free rent for a certain period to build it out. And if you move out, you have to pay that money back. Other leases will have certain damages. So as I mentioned, every lease is different. You want to see what's included if you terminate, and you want to be able to negotiate any penalties that might be in your lease. You also want to look at what does your lease say regarding when you leave the lease. Some leases will have certain provisions that, for example, you may have gotten the space as a box. You built it out. At the end of the lease, you need to now restore it back to the box. That could be quite a lot of money if you built out the space and now have to put the space back to how you found it. So once again, that's something that you might want to be able to negotiate with the landlord. It's important to look at, are you responsible for any remaining rent if you leave? So you want to look at, did you sign the lease in your name or is in the name of a corporation or an LLC? If the lease is in your name, if the lease is in the corporation or an LLC, did you sign a personal guarantee? And if you did, do you have a good guy clause that's going to allow you to get out of the lease and you not be personally liable? Even if you have a good guy clause, you want to be able to negotiate. A lot of times good guy clause say that in order for you to get out of the lease, you have to give the landlord 3 months notice or 4 months notice or 6 months notice. Well, you might not be able to survive to have to pay the rent for 6 months. So you may be able to negotiate that as well. But pretty much anything that's in your lease, if you're looking at whether you're looking at staying or leaving, you want to be able to negotiate with your landlord. You may have heard something called force majeure, which basically it excuses not being able to perform. In this case, not being able to pay your rent because of the pandemic. Most leases do not have a force majeure clause, so you need a review to see if you have it. Even if you have it, you need to make sure that, one, it covers you and not the landlord, so that it provides you with protection. And you want to make sure that, because in New York, courts interpret this very narrowly, that the clause specifically says that you're excused from paying rent if there's an infectious disease or a pandemic. So for most people, that is not going to be an option, which once again gets you back to, you're going to have an obligation to pay rent. You want to be able to try to negotiate that. And there are different things that you can try negotiating with your landlord. It's also important to pay attention to what's in your lease regarding any deadline. So for example, sometimes you may have a lease renewal that requires you to give 6 months notice. If you're within that period, you want to make sure you exercise it so that you don't lose your right. Or if you don't know if you're going to stay or not, you may want to negotiate with the landlord and try to discuss, can you have a shorter window to exercise that renewal option. Defaults, you want to know what in your lease might result in a default and negotiate that as well. Sometimes if you're late with the payment of your rent, you might lose the option to renew. Sometimes if you're late with the payment of rent twice within the lease, twice within a 6-month period or 12-month period, the landlord can cancel your lease. So you want to be able to know what's in that lease and negotiate that as well, so that your lease doesn't get terminated if you want to stay in the space. Quickly moving on to insurance. If you have business interruption, you want to look to what is covered in the lease, what are the exclusions, what do you have to provide to the insurance company as notice before you file a claim. You want to make sure that you provide notice within the time that's required. You also want to make sure to see that there are no exclusions regarding having infectious diseases or viruses in order to get a claim. But most likely, the insurance is going to deny the request. You want to file it anyway because there's no downside, and you want to preserve your claim. In the future, there might be litigation. If you don't file, you lose your right to basically to file to recover later on. Quickly regarding contracts, whether you can cancel a contract or not, you want to look at what's in the lease. You want to look at what the lease says, what's in the 4 corners of the lease, and you want to look at what does it say regarding canceling or enforcing a contract. For most contracts, if it doesn't say that you can cancel it because of a pandemic, you're not going to be able to cancel it, but you can always try to renegotiate. You can try to work out some type of agreement with with the other party. Any agreements you get, whether it's relating to the commercial lease or to contracts, get it in writing. If you don't have it in writing, you have no protection. So with that, I want to leave enough time for questions. So I will cut it here, and I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, so in order to use the question feature, you just have to press the raise hand button, and I will unmute you so you can ask Rolando any questions.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hi. So how do we get your information if we have a particular situation so that you could review what our current situation is?
Domingo, I don't know, do you want to provide it or you're muted?
Did you receive an email from me earlier to get on the call?
I got a text. Because I participate in another group, and that's how
Okay.
I got to join this.
So what we could do is you could get the information now, but for everybody else, since I'll email it and text it out as well.
Okay, perfect.
So you can reach me. My direct number is 212-426-3054. That's 212-426-3054. My
Okay.
email is RR,
Mhm.
my last name, GONZALEZ, at legal, LEGAL,
Mhm.
AID.org.
.org. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Serena?
Yes, hi. My question is, I know I heard that, we're all encouraged to individually talk to our landlords and negotiate individually. Are there any attempts either by the city or by the community board to sort of group together to talk to landlords in Northern Manhattan on our behalf, on the behalf of small businesses, and to come to some sort of even if it's not a legal kind of agreement, but some sort of power in numbers? Because I feel like if we're all individually negotiating with our landlords, we have much less negotiating power, and the landlord has all the power to negotiate.
Yeah. Well, to speak on that, and I can't speak on behalf of the whole community board. Our chair is here. He'll be able to tap into that. But I think one thing that is important to note is, and Rolando spoke about it earlier, was the fact that this is not about conversation agreements. It's more about how do we get things on paper so it could be legally binding. And usually situations like that are usually come forth with a conversation between the tenant and the landlord. But if you feel that like we should be developing some sort of collective where we're able to advocate more effectively in numbers, then it's a matter of well, if it's pertaining to small businesses, it's a matter of I would encourage you to join us in our business development committee meeting next month, and we start strategizing how we could utilize, well, at least our committee. The chair could speak to the entire board and figure out how we could develop a collective action.
So
Thank you.
one thing that you may have more leverage than you think for this reason. I don't think whenever this thing sort of becomes to whatever the new normal is, that there are going to be a lot of people looking at renting commercial space. And one of the things, if you've been a tenant who's been paying their rent, you probably have a lot more leverage than you think, because at the end of this, there aren't going to be a lot of people looking to rent space. And I think most landlords would prefer working something out and maybe taking a reduced rent, maybe even for a shorter time, than having an empty space.
Thank you. I hope you're right.
I'm also hoping that I know there's talks with the state and the city of maybe having relief for commercial tenants. So I'm hoping something comes down also that will assist as well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and just so you know that this is something that we plan on doing weekly. One of the conversations we are also going to have, I believe, next Tuesday is around banks and what role banks within our community are playing to be able to support the local small businesses, because it's not about just having a branch in our community, but it's also about how does this branch help the local community and its small businesses.
Yeah. Thank you.
Eliestel, do you want to add anything?
Yeah,
To it?
on as the community board is, and this is a good time to think collectively. The community board really, what it really is that a platform for advocacy. Efforts like having Rolando being giving us the right information as to how to approach uh, what the situation that on hand and what's coming is really is part of our effort to help the community. And as Rolando said, I'm also a business owner. We now have the upper hand. So you know the markets are offer and demand. Now there's no offer and there's more, there will be no demand. So right now the market is flattened. So we as business owners that have these leases on our hands can renegotiate them. Of course, we need that legal advice, but there will be no one to rent our places, our spaces to. There's no one else. There's no one else looking for rental space anywhere else. So yes, Rolando is absolutely right. Yes, we are going to serve our purpose as advocacy, as advocates of a lot of this collective need. But at the end of the day, we do have, as business owners, have the upper hand.
Jeffrey? Yeah, you're muted,
Does
Jeffrey.
your policy have to specifically? One second. Let me see.
You hear us,
Oh,
Jeffrey?
I don't think I'm. It doesn't say I am. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, we hear you. Okay. Hi. My question is in relation to the word pandemic. So your insurance policy has to specifically mention pandemic, or does virus or bacteria sufficient, or does it have to say specifically pandemic?
Usually it has to say, it has to
Usually
be, the
it
more
has to
specific,
say,
the better.
it has to be more.
If you want help with that, that's something that reach out to me. But most leases do not say anything about basically the virus or a pandemic. So if you want,
Okay, I
if
mean,
you want
mind
to
if it says something about virus? Oh. Okay, what I was saying is that my lease in particular, and I'm just saying, you know, it mentions virus and bacteria, but nothing about pandemic. So obviously, I was wondering if it has to say. Now I'll look further into this now that you've mentioned that. But I thought it had to say, based on what you said earlier, that it had to say something about pandemic.
It probably your lease or your insurance.
Probably your lease or your insurance.
Oh, I'm sorry, my insurance. That's
Your
what I was
insurance?
looking at. I'm sorry, my insurance.
Your insurance.
Yeah, it doesn't mention anything about pandemic. It just says something about virus and bacteria.
I'd like to take a look at it.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me, I'd like to take a look at it.
If you want to reach out to me, I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay, great.
Jeffrey, did you receive our
Jeffrey,
message via email or text?
Our message via email or text?
I have an email and I also have a text. But
Okay,
I also
perfect.
I can
we'll be
get
sharing
the
his
information through Eli.
out.
Because we'll be
Okay,
sharing
perfect.
this information out.
Excellent.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And now we have Guadalupe Castro.
Hi. Can you
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
You say that we need to talk to our landlord, right, and ask for a waiver or rent reduction. I mean, at this point, I have some number in mind to ask because other friends that they have a business. They one of them, he told me that he adds about 30% on the rent.
Mm-hmm.
So you suggest that we should ask for a percentage or just ask like waiver on the rent? I mean, you know, at this point, I want your advice on legal terms, like which is the better solution for us, you know, since it's a lot of rent, you know, like each month to pay.
So the first thing is, let me tell you what a lot of landlords are saying.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of landlords are basically saying, have you applied for federal funding? And they want to wait to see if you've applied for federal funding. And more so now that I think they just agreed on the new stimulus package, they might want to wait because they may not want to give you 30% or waive your rent and then find out that you got money from the federal government. But I think it should be what's going to work for you. You want to come up with an agreement that you're going to be able to comply with. So I would suggest talking to your landlord, leaving it open. You should have a number in mind. You should know what you can pay. But I always find that when I negotiate, it helps finding out what the other side thinks first, because they might end up giving you something better than what you thought.
Right.
I think it makes sense to tell a landlord you're having difficulty, you've been closed or not, seeing what the landlord suggests, and then depending on what they say, you can always come back and counter. But it always helps. And I did landlord tenant work, representing tenants years ago in housing court, and being able to let the other side talk first and to listen.
Right.
That's something better than what you were even wanted. So, and if you don't get an answer that you want, you can always come back and say, look, this is why it's not going to work for me. I've been a good tenant. I've been trying to pay the rent. I haven't been open since such and such a time, and then try to work something out. But I think it makes sense to give a proposal that you're going to be able to pay. And part of the problem is you don't know how long this is going to last.
Exactly. Well, my business is a nail salon. Yeah. And at this point, it's one of the business that is going to take so long to reopen. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he gave me 2 weeks to come back and, you know, talk to him. But at this point, and I don't know what to say, you know, when he called me back and say, hey, I'm ready to talk. Because, you know, I'm the business that for sure we don't know when we're going to come back.
Well, it's another thing you want to think about. It's not also just a matter of when you're going to come back. It's also a matter of, is the business going to be the same? Because are people going, if you still have social distancing, and this could affect a lot of businesses, are people going to be willing to come back and get their nails done when they're going to have someone right in front of them? And they might, so that's another thing to consider. So it's not just what you're going to pay now. You may want to look at down the line as well. Are you still going to be able to pay the rent 3 months from now, 4 months from now, when there still might be government guidelines basically saying that you're going to limit how many people can be in your store or in your business at a specific time, and people may not want to come back and sort of have someone right near them.
Yes. Thank you.
And Guadalupe, just know one thing, right? And back to the point of the person who spoke to the last 2 questions 2 people ago. It's important that we all understand the resources that we have, the negotiating power you have, and also being able to make informed decisions. And I think just listening to Rolando, what I would encourage you is, and we'll be sending it out, is to get into direct contacts with him, because as he has been able to negotiate these type of situations, he'll be able to provide you with some tips of ways that you could try to figure out and think beyond just the immediate, you know, and think a little bit more long term, because this is not going to be we're not going back to normal overnight. And I think as small businesses, owners have to plan with that mentality, being able to weather this storm and understanding that this storm might be a year or two, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right. And well, that's one of the things that I'm looking right now to see where I can, get the resource and really trying to put my stuff together, because I mean, I know for sure that it's not me, it's so many nail salons around the city that we're going to be in the same situation. And at this point, I agree with the other girls saying that, I mean, we just need somebody who can help us to talk, to the city, to the government,
Yeah. So I think this is part of the reason why we did this. And Eliezer, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that even though it feels that have we've been abandoned to, for a lack of a
Exactly.
better word, we really not. I think that what we need to do is to rethink where power really lies. And I think now this is an opportunity to remake and reshape a lot of the power structure. And this venue, it might be a small venue because it's only about 30 of us or so. This is where the conversation starts. This is where Rolando, Domingo, and the people who have been trying to lead this effort can now say, okay, now look at your lease. You have the power to renegotiate forever. That I know. I've been around doing business for over 20 years. This is the first time ever that I can look at the landlord and say, huh, we need to have a conversation. As bad as it looks, Guadalupe, this is our time.
Yes.
And also one thing to note is, since things slowed down a lot, now it's time to actually build capacity, right? The comptroller's having his MWBE universities where you could start getting all these certifications in the process. Remember, the city doesn't produce anything. They contract everything out. So this is a good time to start getting the certifications. This is a good time to start getting certain credentials that'll open up different markets, So it's not just solely about getting too caught up in what's currently happening, but also identifying areas in which you could expand. And like Eliezer said, being able to renegotiate certain contracts that otherwise would have been almost impossible to do. But what I'm saying is, and because we're about to transition to the Spanish conversation now, is that is extremely important to stay informed. And as well as staying informed, is extremely important to stay away from the news sometimes, because that also could impact our mental health, because it's the same messaging over and over again.
Yes.
So strategize into where you see your business going beyond the pandemic, and then just start getting the certifications and using this slow time to really build up that business model, so that when you start, you actually have a broader money stream, as opposed to just, So with that said, I'll also be sending via email the MWBE University, which is Minority Women Business Owned Enterprises, which is a certification awarded by the city and the state, where they help not help, but provide contracts to minority and women-owned businesses, so that you're able to, I believe the governor committed to 30% of the contracts awarded should be awarded to the MWBEs. And that's a good way of expanding it. So it's also about identifying resources, and also using this time that things are slowing down to renegotiate better leases, but also at the same time expanding your business models.
Yes, Domingo. I think this is a moment we have to switch to Spanish, because we have a Spanish speaker audience que está esperando por su turno de escuchar esa información que.
Okay, perfecto. So we will be so thank you, Guadalupe, for raising for your question, and we will be now vamos a estar cambiando para español.
Sí, gracias. Te agradezco la atención.
Vamos a estar transfiriendo a español. Rolando hará su presentación en español.
Ready? Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rolando González, soy un abogado con el Legal Aid Society y ayudamos a negocios pequeños con asistencia legal para su negocio, y los servicios son, no cobramos para los servicios. So, lo que quería hablar un poquito antes de coger sus preguntas es sobre lo que está pasando ahora con la renta y cuáles son sus obligaciones y cuáles son sus opciones. So, mucha gente ha preguntado que si todavía tiene que pagar renta, porque muchas veces el gobierno es quien lo cerró, y cuáles son sus obligaciones durante esta crisis y cuáles son sus opciones con su contrato. Lo más importante es que deben de revisar su contrato y es importante saber qué es lo que está en su contrato, qué es lo que dice su contrato. Todas sus obligaciones, todos sus derechos, todas sus opciones están en ese contrato. So, es importante que lo revisen. Si necesitan ayuda revisando el contrato, me pueden llamar o mandarme por correo electrónico. Y yo se lo puedo revisar a decirle cuáles son sus opciones y cuáles son sus obligaciones. Un lease es un contrato como cualquier otro. Y con un contrato de arrendamiento es muy importante que lo revisen porque todos sus derechos y todas las obligaciones del el propietario están en el contrato. Si tienen un lease residencial es muy diferente porque hay protecciones que no están por escrito en el contrato, pero con un contrato de arrendamiento todos sus derechos están en el contrato. Durante este tiempo no se puede, el propietario no puede desalojarlos, no puede tampoco traer un caso en la corte. Desde el 15 de marzo, no hay ningún caso nuevo que se pueden traer en la corte, al menos que no sea una emergencia. So, no pueden comenzar un caso por no pagando la renta, no pueden desalojarlo tampoco, hasta por lo menos el 19 de junio, al menos que la ley no cambie. Pero lo que la ley no ha hecho es que no ha suspendido la obligación de pagar renta. Eso quiere decir que después de este tiempo, el dueño de su espacio puede comenzar un caso en la corte, puede tratar de desalojar comerciantes. So, es importante para saber lo que está en el contrato. Es importante saber que todo en su contrato, bueno, lo tiene que revisar para ver cuál es su derecho, pero lo más probable es que todavía siguen con la obligación de pagar renta y todas las otras obligaciones. En todos los contratos hay algo que dice renta en la primera página y después hay algo que dice additional rent. Eso quiere decir que si tienen la obligación de pagar impuestos, si tienen obligaciones para pagar por la luz, el agua, todo eso sigue. Todas las obligaciones en el contrato siguen. Casi todos los contratos dicen que el inquilino tiene la obligación de pagar renta y tiene la obligación de pagar la renta completa sin poder aguantar o sacar cualquier parte de la renta. So, lo más probable es que tengan esa obligación. Lo que yo le aconsejo a los clientes que si no tienen el dinero para pagar, si no pagaron abril, no tienen dinero para pagar mayo, es importante que traten de hablar con el propietario y tratar de llegar a un acuerdo. Y todo se puede negociar. So, le pueden preguntar sobre que le rebajen la renta, pueden que le tumben la renta, que entren en un plan para pagar la renta en el futuro. Pero no debe solamente ser la renta. Como le digo, todo se puede negociar. So, pueda que sea que ustedes, el contrato se termine este año y puedan pedirle que el dueño le dé una extensión o que le dé la oportunidad para 3, 5 años más. Y es posible que el dueño ahora quiera negociar, porque después de este tiempo creo que va a ser difícil para dueños encontrar negocios nuevos que renten el espacio. Pueden negociar si quieren, por ejemplo, hacer Cada contrato de arrendamiento tiene algo específico sobre para qué él puede usar el espacio y es bien específico. Si quieren cambiar lo que van a usar el espacio o quieren hacer algo diferente en el espacio, este también puede ser el tiempo para negociar. So, por ejemplo, hay algunos negocios que solamente se puede vender comida fría o nada más café, por ejemplo. So, pueden negociar que a vender otras cosas, comida fría, que puedan cocinar en el espacio. So, es importante a revisar el contrato para saber qué es lo que está en el contrato y qué pueden negociar en el contrato. Hay personas que saben que no se van a poder quedar en el espacio y que se quieren salir del contrato. Es importante para revisarlo, para saber si el contrato lo deja salirse y sin algunas multas. La mayoría de los contratos no van a dejar salirse sin una multa. So, es importante saber qué dice el contrato sobre cuáles son las multas. A veces hay todo el dinero que se debe, todos los meses y años se deben inmediatamente si se trata de salir del contrato. Hay otras veces que muchas veces cuando se entran en el contrato, le dan renta gratis para poder hacer los cambios que necesitan en el espacio. Hay a veces que si se trata de salir del contrato, tiene que pagar ese dinero para atrás. Hay otros contratos que dicen que tiene que pagar cierta cantidad si se va a salir. Cada contrato es diferente. Por eso es que es importante saber lo que está en el contrato de usted y poder negociar lo que esté en su contrato. Pero también es importante saber qué dice el contrato si se va a salir sobre la condición que tiene que dejar el espacio. Si lo puede dejar en la manera que está o si tiene que hacer arreglos para dejar el espacio en la condición que usted lo encontró. Si tiene esa cláusula en su contrato, es importante negociarlo porque si le costó mucho dinero para usted, tuvo que hacer el trabajo en el espacio para después de volverlo como lo consiguió, le va a costar dinero. Es importante para ver que usted se mantiene responsable. Por ejemplo, si el contrato está en su nombre personal, usted se hace responsable para todo el dinero que se debe para el espacio. Si usted firmó el contrato y el nombre del inquilino es una corporación, un LLC, lo más probable es que tuvo que firmar una garantía personal. Chequee ver si firmaron eso y si tienen lo que se llama un good guy clause. Un good guy clause lo deja usted salir del contrato y no tener que deber dinero después que se salga, pero hay condiciones que tiene que cumplir. Por ejemplo, muchas veces el contrato dice que tiene que dar 3 meses, 4 meses, 6 meses antes de poder salirse y que tiene que pagar toda esa renta. So, eso también podría negociar eso también. Hay algo que se llama force majeure. No sé cómo decirlo en español. Pero eso es algo que si está en su contrato, dice que por lo que ha pasado no tiene que pagar la renta. Casi ningún contrato tiene esa cláusula porque nadie esperaba que esto pasara. Pero si tiene eso, tiene que chequear que eso sea en favor de usted y no del propietario. Y también que diga que específicamente que es por la situación que estamos pasando ahora, que tiene que ser específicamente para eso. Si usted no cumple con su lease, es importante para saber qué dice su lease si hay algo que usted no ha cumplido. Por ejemplo, hay veces que leases dicen que si usted tiene una opción para renovar su contrato, pero no paga renta, pierda esa opción. O hay a veces que dice que si falta de pagar renta 2 veces en un año o 2 veces en el contrato, le pueden cancelar el contrato. Es importante saber qué dice su lease sobre eso y negociar esas cláusulas que están en su lease. cualquier arreglo que llegue con su propietario, es importante que esté por escrito. Si no está por escrito, usted no tiene ninguna protección si el dueño del espacio después dice que no va a cumplir con ese acuerdo que llegaron. Y es importante saber cualquier protección que usted tiene y cumplir con cualquier, por ejemplo, si tiene algo que dice que para usted renovar su contrato, tiene que hacer los 6 meses antes que se expire. Es importante cumplir con eso también. Sobre seguro, si usted tiene un seguro que para en contra de pérdidas del negocio, es importante que lo revisen para ver qué es lo que cubre, para revisar qué no está cubierto en eso y qué necesita hacer para comenzar el proceso con el seguro. La mayoría de los seguros no van a cubrir lo que está pasando ahora, pero es importante, al menos que diga que no lo cubre, es importante que por lo menos, aunque lo más probable es que no lo van a aceptar, es importante que file a claim como quiera, porque hay gente que estoy seguro que van a haber muchos casos en la corte por esto, y si usted no ponen el claim, no van en el futuro poder protegerse si la ley cambia.
Ok, muchas gracias, Rolando. Si tienen alguna pregunta, presionen el Raise Hand feature, RAISE, y podrán hacer la pregunta.
No que yo tenga una pregunta, sino la manito que se parece a esa.
Ok, Anaísa. Anaísa.
¿Me puede escuchar?
Sí, te podemos escuchar.
Ok, perfecto. Una de las cosas, yo soy Annie de Credit City. Una de las cosas que yo creo que como Gail Brewer y puede ser que otros políticos estén ahí, puede haber más leyes en colecciones, o sea, yo briego mucho con lo de la colección o deudas de colección después de un lease o cuando llevan a una persona a la corte. Entonces, ahora mismo no hay mucho en lo que es deudas comerciales. Entonces, yo creo que si se pasara una ley donde cubriera a la gente sobre commercial debt under COVID-19, no ayudaría mucho a las personas. O sea, que una persona la lleven a corte después que no pudo pagar su renta o que no pudo pagar su lease, sería perfecto. Porque ahora mismo no hay muchas leyes que protegen a las deudas comerciales. En cambio, cubre lease, commercial lease. So, sería bueno que se pudieran más leyes, que nuestros políticos pudieran más leyes que cubrieran leyes Small Business Debt Act sobre leyes comerciales. Ahora mismo, si una persona, un comerciante o una persona lleva a un pequeño negocio a corte, statute of limitations para cubrir esa deuda, a menos que la persona se vaya a bancarrota, es 20 años. O sea, sería bueno que se pasara una ley que las personas que se fueron o que no van a poder cubrir estos leases o que se van a tener que salir, que hubiera más leyes que lo protegieran, digo yo.
Ok, gracias por compartir, Anaísa. Y una de las cosas que nosotros queramos hacer en el momento, estamos chequeando todas las legislaciones que está actualmente en el Senado, en la Asamblea, las leyes estatales, para ver qué seguridad vienen para los pequeños negocios. Yo sé que hay una de la cancelación de renta que está ahora en el Senado y en la Asamblea. Yo sé que en una de ellas la asambleísta Carmen de la Rosa es una de las co-sponsors. So, algo que podamos hacerle para la próxima reunión, podamos invitarla a ella para que hable de las legislaciones y de las protecciones que como comerciantes se necesitan en nuestras comunidades, porque ya estamos en un punto que ya tengamos que ir, tengamos que hacer más que retórico y realmente comenzar a poner ciertas seguridades para que nuestra comunidad pueda sobrevivir esta crisis que viene.
Can I add something fast? Una de las cosas que yo estaba leyendo en la industria de colecciones es como Wisconsin. Wisconsin acted a law que no pueden, una compañía de colecciones no puede cobrar en estos momentos ninguna deuda a la gente de ellos, o sea, de deudas. Entonces sería bueno que en Nueva York también pudiera haber esas clases de medidas, o sea, una persona no puede colectar ahora con cualquier préstamo o deuda. Ahora mismo lo que se pusieron aquí en el estado fue for student loan y para IRS, que es hasta el April 20th, I believe, that they cannot collect on those kind of debts, pero sería bueno que se pusieran otras medidas que ayudarían a las personas. También una de las cosas que me ayudó a mí sobre el insurance que escuché mucho es yo hice mi claim to the insurance company. They denied my claim. And then after my claim was denied, yo lo mandé a un abogado y el abogado pudo coger frases de lo que ellos mismos, el denial letter with my policy, y así pudo appeal the case. O sea, una de las cosas es llenar el claim para saber por qué te negaron antes de eso. ¿Tú me entiendes? Entonces así puede el abogado, quien pues, trabaja en este caso, pueda saber por qué te denió. All right? So, una de las cosas que me ayudó a mí fue eso.
Okay.
So,
y Anaísa, danos, tú hiciste el RSVP, ¿no es verdad?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll follow up with you para ver si podamos compartir ideas de cómo podamos elaborar más en las legislaciones y cómo podamos trabajar como una comunidad para asegurarnos que nuestros políticos puedan comenzar a crear legislaciones que realmente ayuden a nuestras comunidades. ¿Okay?
Así mismo.
A nivel, perdona, Ani, ¿cómo tú estás? ¿Todo bien?
Bien, gracias.
A nivel federal, Rolando me corrige, creo que el mayor el mayor error que tenía la legislación del PPP era que cuando se desbolsaban los fondos, los bancos, si tú tenías algún tipo de balance o de préstamo, se cobraban primero.
Exactamente.
Entonces, a mí me lo hicieron.
Bueno.
Te cobran primero y después reembolsan. O sea, la legislación de la que tú propones, que Domingo ya te dijo que había una comunicación, quizás este no sea el medio por cuestión de tiempo, va a tener que venir ya macro, ya casi a nivel federal. Porque...
Cada estado, I've been in the collection industry for over 20 years. Cada estado tiene su ley en cómo colectar deudas comerciales o deudas de colección como deudas médicas o deudas de tarjeta de crédito y todo eso. Entonces, lo que yo propongo es que no hay muchas leyes de comerciales, o sea, como de leases o leyes como payday loans o loans que son de esos hardship loans, que hagan más leyes que cubran a las personas, porque vamos a suponer que mi negocio no esté funcionando y el landlord me quiera cobrar a mí $20,000 o $30,000. Entonces, para yo salirme de esa deuda, yo voy a tener que llenar bancarrota en vez de que haga una ley que me proteja a mí por esta pandemia que está ocurriendo. O sea, de decir, hey, tú no puedes llevar a la corte y un judgment judicial del estado de Nueva York es 20 años. O sea, tú puedes colectar ese judgment por 20 años y eso te puede causar problemas si tú compras una casa, si tú compras un carro, si tú tienes una cuenta de banco, te la van a garnish. So, hay medidas que tú puedes, que los políticos de nosotros pueden tomar para protegernos a nosotros, a los consumidores, ¿me entiendes?
Sí, entonces lo que yo diría, Anaísa, vamos a tener esta conversación más in depth, porque esto estaba scheduled hasta las 5 y moving forward, moviéndonos hacia adelante, nosotros siempre estamos cogiendo ideas y que podamos abogar para asegurarnos que no solamente proveer cierto advice, consejo a nuestros elected officials, a los oficiales electos, pero también para poder trabajar en conjunto en cierta campaña que beneficie mutuamente a la comunidad. Okay, so muchas gracias, Anaísa, y nos mantendremos en contacto.
Gracias.
Okay. La última round de preguntas, si no tienen más. Ok. Rolando, if you wanna. Oh.
That's one more question.
Ok, la última pregunta la vamos a tomar de Guadalupe. Ok, Guadalupe, puede hablar.
Ok. ¿Me escucha?
Sí.
Bueno, creo que mencionó al principio que solamente éramos un grupo pequeño de 30 personas. Yo sé que ahorita hay muchísima gente que está buscando la ayuda y no sabe cómo encontrarlo. Bueno, gracias a Dios, yo estoy en contacto con ustedes y me llega información de ustedes constantemente. Me gustaría compartir esto con toda la gente que me siguen a mí y que asimismo pudiese hacerse la cadena para compartirse mutuamente con otros negociantes. Yo no estoy segura si ¿cómo se llama? ¿El Community Board 12 es de Washington Heights o es de East Harlem?
No, es de Washington Heights,
Bueno.
Inwood. Es de Washington Heights a Inwood.
Bueno, imagínense, muchísima gente en Harlem que también estamos necesitando la ayuda. Yo estoy en Harlem y yo estoy oyendo sus meetings. Bueno, me gustaría que también, yo tengo amigos en el vecindario que tienen negocio también y que quizás necesitan la misma información que yo estoy recibiendo. Yo puedo compartir con ellos, pero todavía hay muchísima gente que no está llegando esta información.
Guadalupe, yo te diría de mi parte que aunque la información la estamos distribuyendo desde aquí, desde el Community Board 12, hay organizaciones que también a través del, por ejemplo, New York Legal Aid Society, es una organización que está en toda la ciudad.
En la ciudad.
Entonces, la organización que Rolando te da, tú también la puedes compartir y utilizarnos a nosotros como esa plataforma. Como te dijo Domingo anteriormente, esto va a ser todos los martes. Entonces, para ver cómo tú los motivas a que se unan y comenzamos una cadena de información.
Y otra cosa es, en ese mismo orden, Guadalupe, que estas reuniones que se van a estar sosteniendo martes y otras fechas que se van a publicar, siempre van a estar saliendo en nuestros canales YouTube y Facebook, de manera que desde ahí también se podrán compartir para aquellas personas que quizás no tienen acceso al ID de la reunión o al link que se envía de la reunión, ¿ok?
Y Guadalupe, si conoce cualquier comerciante que necesita ayuda legal, le puede dar mi información. Mi teléfono, como le dije, el 212-426-3054.
Sí, por supuesto. Yo siempre les comparto información a todos los que quieren escucharme. Y muy agradecida y de verdad, qué bien que ustedes están aquí y que hay alguien que está hablando por nosotros, sobre todo hoy en día los comercios que estamos cerrados y que tenemos un incierto, inseguro y que no sabemos qué es lo que va a pasar en el futuro. Muchas gracias.
Ok, gracias, Guadalupe.
Gracias.
Y en ese tono, básicamente todos los martes de 4 a 5 vamos a tener una hora donde vamos a traer personas comprometidas con el mejoramiento de nuestras comunidades, como hoy le tocó a Rolando González de Legal Aid Society's Community Development Project, para poder, no solamente para diseminar los recursos que hay disponibles y para que sepan que en esto no están solos, hay muchos recursos que se pueden compartir, muchos recursos que hay disponibles, y no se sienta que están solos. Y con eso ahora voy a pasar la palabra a Eliezer so he could close it out. Y Rolando, if you want to say any final words.
You're muted.
La mayoría de los que quedan hablan español. Tenemos la facilidad de despedirnos una sola vez. Gracias a todos. No se sientan que están solos, porque nos tenemos a nosotros. Y nosotros somos la mayor fuente de fuerza y de poder político. La próxima semana les prometemos que quien sea nuestro invitado, vamos a poner, como hacen en los canales de televisión tradicionales, a poner un bannercito ahí con la información, así Rolando no tiene que seguirla repitiendo. Y esperamos verte, no este martes, Rolando, porque realmente yo soy un negociante, un dueño de negocio, y me diste por lo menos un shot de esperanza de que por lo menos podemos rehacer algunas cosas, de verdad. Domingo, gracias por invitar a Rolando.
Gracias por invitarme y estoy a su orden, y si cualquier comerciante necesita ayuda, se pueden poner en contacto conmigo.
Okay. Y ya sepan que si recibieron el texto o el email, todo lo vamos a mandar la información de Rolando González. He's a staff attorney at the Legal Aid Society's Community Development Project. Le vamos a mandar la información a todos para así mantener la comunicación y compártanlo. Que si le dan mucho trabajo a Rolando, yo le garantizo que él va a conseguir más apoyo.
Tiene, perdón, la información de Guadalupe, Domingo, contigo.
Déjame preguntarle.
Pregúntale, por favor, por su...
Guadalupe, tú hiciste el RSVP, ¿correcto?
Creo lo hice la primera vez y ya hoy recibí email y un mensaje de texto.
Ok, perfecto. So, por así mismo nos comunicaremos de nuevo. ¿Cuál es el email?
GB Castro.
Oh, sí, yo lo vi.
Ok.
Ok. Y con eso me despido. Muchas gracias, y el próximo martes a las 4 tendremos otro invitado. Le quiero dar una tremenda gracias a Rolando por siempre decir presente. Cuando le dije de esta idea, él dijo cuenta conmigo para lo que sea, y sepan que él es un recurso para nuestra comunidad y nos tengamos que asegurar de que que hagamos decisiones informadas, y más si tengamos acceso a gente que nos pueden proveer cierta información y advice. Y con eso me despido y muchas gracias.
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 Okay. All right, Jonathan.
Bye.